everybody, welcome back, man. Another episode, Know the Code.
Right.
Back at you.
Yeah.
Me, myself, John Johnson. To my left over here, tell them what we got with us.
Little Dangervil.
Yes, indeed. And to my right.
Right, what's happening, y'all?
Yeah, man, good to have y'all with us, man. Good to be here with you. You know what I'm saying? Today we got a few topics we're going to introduce, get into, talk about real quick. And hopefully y'all will leave some commentary and let us know what y'all think about it as well.
Indeed.
I was sitting back observing this week. We always got a lot of things going on in the news, right? But this week in particular, we had a situation in Michigan where I was speaking to you about this earlier, a 14-year-old boy, right? I guess he missed his bus or something in school.
Yeah.
So he trying to figure out how to get there. He goes and knocks on the door, asks for directions. 53-year-old white man ends up shooting at him. He runs, he gets away, whatever the case may be. Okay? That's one situation. On the other hand, which everybody knows about, is the situation at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Two brothers walk in, they were there 2 minutes, pick up the phone, cops come, they end up walking out in cuffs. You know what I'm saying? I know we ain't surprised by it.
No.
But what I took from both of those situations is the importance of knowing who you are in reference to where you are. You know what I'm saying? I just think it's an important thing. It was a bit crazy to me, you know, to have these things still happening. You know what I mean? But I think we're all somewhat accustomed or numb to it at some point.
Like, in the case with the 14-year-old, it's like, a kid should be able to go and request help. But in the same breath, a 14-year-old black man has to know that when someone sees him in the street, you just like the 30-year-old black man, the 40-year-old black man. Like, they're scared because they don't know you. They don't understand you. And they've been told things about you. You know what I'm saying? And confirmation bias is real. Whether you want to, you know what I'm saying, be like, hey, they shouldn't come into, but yeah, you make decisions based on principles that you know what I'm saying, put together earlier. You know what I mean? Like, if this means trouble in this situation, when this situation occurs, I'm gonna think trouble. Like, and you gotta recognize that these niggas don't fuck with you like that.
They had a similar scenario years back, if I remember right, in Michigan. Wasn't there a sister that got killed? She's like, that night, something like that. She knocked on the guy's door and he shot her through the door or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, yo, you got a bunch of people on edge, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, like you said, you got to act accordingly. You know, and understand what you're dealing with. You know, you can't walk in under the assumption that everybody got, open arms. You know, that's a shame. Like you said, you talking about a kid on top of that.
Right.
You know, and he knocked on the door.
Try to get to school.
You know, it's one of those things too. Like when Pops was telling me in the South, if somebody knock on your door, they usually take like 10 steps back. You know, they usually walk down the stairs and go stand, because it's like there's just some places where it's like, yo, don't play the door.
Yeah.
You know, but you would think as a minor, as a child, you wouldn't expect anybody to pop off on you, like you said. That's wild, man. And as a parent, that's just crazy to wrap your head around. You know, obviously that your child was hoping somebody would help him out. Found out the hard way that not everybody in the world wants to help you, especially some people depending on how you look. As the basis.
Already made the decision.
Crazy, man.
The reason I was saying, we're somewhat numb to it, being that it's happened so often, is because I think a lot of times as parents, some of us don't take the opportunity to let our children know what's really going on in this world, who they are and the power that they wield. Because the 14-year-old boy, he didn't understand. Just his presence was a weapon to them. Yeah. They felt threatened enough to have to pull out and lick shots at you just for you standing there at their doorstep. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's that much of a threat. So they have to understand what's going on out here. And once they do that, they'll have a better chance of surviving and staying out of certain situations. Or even when they're in certain situations, understanding the potential, you know what I'm saying, for things to go left. You know what I mean?
As a parent, it's fucked up because y'all got to make the decision to trade reality for their innocence. You know what I'm saying? Like they live in a world where something like that doesn't even dawn on them. But once you present that possibility, they can't go back. Like Santa Claus ain't real.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a precarious position.
They gotta grow up quicker.
And like you said, that's a great point. Is you don't want to steal their innocence. You want to steal their youth from them. You know, and that's where it is selective on everybody's comfort zone on when and where they had those discussions and around what. You know, but I think it's critical to have them. You know, because I think that the worst thing we could do as parents is to leave our kids, you know, walking around blind. You know what I mean? And I think that that's where it is a trade-off. You know, I think there are certain things that you don't want to, what's the word? You know, put on your kid. You know what I mean? Or put on a young person. But I think there are other things that you want them to be aware of because for their own good. And again, just like a lot of things with little ones is you might have to have that discussion 10, 20, 30 times before the light bulb goes off and it's like, okay, now I get why. You know, why that discussion needed to be had or why I needed to know about this. You know, but it's parenting wise, that's definitely one of those things where you just gotta be intent, you gotta have intent around it. You know what I mean? You gotta have a reason why you're doing it. You know?
It's crazy. I'll tell you a little story. My daughter, she went home an assignment the other day from a teacher, and it was about Native Americans and pilgrims. So it was like a little 3-page story, you know what I'm saying, about the whole situation. So I'm reading it, and you know, it's painting these pilgrims to be these great people. Yeah, they signed this treaty and all of that to get along so nobody would harm each other and all of this, and they had this great feast. I'm like, yo, you're not doing this assignment. Like, there's no way I could give this to you and impress upon you what I know to be a lie. You know what I'm saying?
Teach you a lie so I can unteach you the lie later.
You know, because I know what this lie is intended to do. It's intended to give you a false impression of what's really going on out here. You know what I'm saying? So I told the teacher, she's like, yeah, well, you know, we tell them this story now, then I think when they get older, they'll give them the real story. You don't lie to somebody when their mind is that impressionable and then tell them the truth when it's less impressionable at a later stage.
Because, yes, there's grown-ups still running around thinking Christopher Columbus is that dude.
Takes us back to that Black Panther discussion when, you know, T'Challa was yelling at the elders like, you lied to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's the parallel to me. Is like, you know, I be wondering, like, why nobody told me this? Like, you know, and I definitely second that as I got to make sure that my young man knows, you know, my young boys know that's not how the story went. You know, because again, there's a certain level of understanding that won't come now, but will come later around how many of these stories have been told to them in a way that isn't true, and they will find out as they get older and seek their own information. You know, but it blows your mind because you say, you know, there's a lot of people out there damaged right now because they would never explain these things. And I guess to circle back to the first part of our discussion is those are the people that won't talk to their kids about those things or aren't sure how or aren't comfortable or think there's something wrong with it. You know what I mean? You got some people who just like, why would I want to give you some negative thoughts? Or it's like, yo, the truth is the truth. You know, but I think that starts, you know, the chicken and the egg theory. You know what I mean? Like, what comes first? And I think you start with the child who isn't giving the real, because now the real scares them. You know what I mean? They're not comfortable with that reality, and that's, you know, it's dangerous.
Real scares them. They calling the police on people who just walk into their establishment,
right,
without finding out what type of.
And that goes beyond just us. That goes, you know, any other race, religion, or creed. You know, you hear these stories, and you know, you have these opinions. It's definitely a great point, man.
Well, the two brothers that got taken out of the Starbucks, when they talked to them and had them on television interviewing them, whatever show, they said it wasn't a black thing. You know, this is a human issue. You know what I'm saying? These were one of their words, one of the two brothers. The other one didn't seem to disagree with him much. I'm not sure what his perspective on it was. But even in taking that position, you don't address what's going on. Yeah. And you know what's going on. You know what I mean? You should at least be ringing the alarm for some people who may not know what's going on. Don't lull them further to sleep. You have a responsibility, you know what I'm saying, to do that. Tell the truth. You know what was happening.
And that's a scary thing too, because and that's a great point, is you kind of divert from what needs to be addressed. You know, but I think you also have some people who want to sound like they have some refreshing position on an old argument. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where it's like
I'm enlightened.
1 + 1 is still 2. You know, it's like
add it up.
I think recently, who was it? This guy Kanye just co-signed some chick who was talking about, you know, Black Lives Matter, or people who want to, you know, dwell on suffering and things they haven't lived through and blah 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 blah. And it's like, yo, that's dangerous, man. That is dangerous, and it's more dangerous for someone like Kanye to co-sign it, Because again, you have these impressionable young people who run off that, and they want to sound smart. At least he does to me. Yeah. He wants to sound smart. I think the chick he's talking about is just a piece of shit. Like, you know, I don't even know other way to put it. You know, but for him, he's trying to sound smart. And it's like, come on, man. Like, you're doing a big disservice. And I think, again, guys like him are going to find out. People ain't going to support you. At least, you know, the people who got you to where you are going to stop supporting you. You know what I mean? And it blows my mind, man, because you hear stuff like that, and it's like you said, it's very clear what this was. We don't have to church it up or create no other image about what the discussion should be. It's like, no, they did that to you because y'all were two, you know, loitering black guys. You know what I mean?
What's crazy is Kanye might be, he understands that white people buy his music, mostly. Right. And I'm not saying all white people may agree with what he's saying, but the majority rules, right? So the majority of his fans are still going to stick around. It's not going to offend them in the same way it offends us. Our experiences are different. So, you know, on a business perspective, this is what you'll see a lot of black people in the spotlight do in order to keep their bread buttered. You know what I mean? They make certain moves. You know what I'm saying?
Same guy who said George Bush don't care about black people.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's that strategic at all. It may just be on the subconscious.
He's saying shit. You know, sometimes people just, and let's be clear, man. I think everybody here has retweeted or commented some shit where in hindsight you're like, yeah, that wasn't the move. Yeah, you know what I mean? You know.
With those things, you got to worry about the context, because not everybody's going to get the context of, I support this aspect of what this person said. They're just going to say, oh, you support that person. Right. You know what I'm saying?
It's like Killer Mike talking to the NRA. He was an idiot for going to talk to him, but again, I don't think he said anything different than he's ever said before. Yeah. It's just he chose a platform that was one where it's like, you know they were going to twist your words, and you know it was going to look bad for you. You know, you should have known it was going to look bad for you, but that's where, you know, I respect the brother for saying, all right, I made a stupid move. You know, I respect
leaves too much room for misinterpretation, right? For people to take your message and turn it into their message, or align it with their message at the same time. But it's just, you know, it starts with the education, and I think that's the main problem of sending the kids through the system, because we all get the impression that white people did everything and they're the greatest. Even when you're in math class, you learn about the Pythagorean theorem. This is a Greek method we give you. This is how you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You don't learn about yourself really doing, maybe for a month. You might get a little minute or two here and there on this person. You might have to do a report. Always on the same people, repetitively, you know what I mean? But other than that, they don't empower you. Because they don't tell you your story, your truth.
They don't tell you that all those Greek scholars went to Africa to get the game. And once they started pillaging Africa, they started ripping books out of their libraries and plagiarizing them and putting their names on the front. So all of Socrates ain't Socrates. All of, you know what I'm saying, Plato might not be Plato. You know what I'm saying? And like back to what you were saying, they don't tell you what happened before they came to power, and it's understandable. You know what I'm saying?
Why it's important
if you win, you're gonna do what you need to do to keep that victory in place. Is to keep the good times rolling, and if you expect them to do otherwise, you kind of setting yourself up for a rough day. Because
I mean, it's to be expected. What they say, to the lion gets the pinned tail will always glorify the hunter. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He did it, whatever he did to get where he got to, and he wrote his own story, irregardless of truth. You know what I'm saying? Word. And that's how it went down, and everybody's taking it to be truth.
Well, just not just the recap of the winner.
I mean, blatant lies.
The truth and the recap of the winner.
Blatant lies, man. You know, that's what we're seeing in our president now. Everything he's doing, the bold-faced lying, none of that surprises me. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. But now you're seeing it in its physical form. Word. Like, all encased in one man.
Like he's doing it in your face, like where they did it over time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just like, you know, forget what you see. Just pay attention to what I say. Right. You know what I mean?
Check the sleeve.
Yeah, like, you know, this is what we've been dealing with. But we got to start breaking ourselves out of that mentality. Like something as small as that story about Native Americans can have a big impression on. I don't want you thinking for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Because the colonizers were friendly.
Yeah, she trusts her school. That's where she spends the majority of her day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So she has a certain relationship with them. So I don't want to put her in a position where it's me, what I'm telling you versus what they telling you. I know it's going to happen, but if I can minimize it here and there, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's that important.
Feel you on that?
Yeah, man. So, you know, y'all still going to Starbucks?
I was like, they got the wicked apple fritters, but I ain't really. I'm not a coffee dude. I don't really rock with Starbucks. You know what I mean?
How about you, Ray?
Yeah, I've withdrawn my support.
Withdrawn your support?
Withdrawn my support.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I just don't feel right going in there. Like what Dave Chappelle said, my blackness will not permit me.